I'm going to talk today a little bit about Trump's handling of the coronavirus. So I hope you'll stay tuned. After President Trump canceled all flights into the United States from China and Iran due to the coronavirus pandemic on January 31st, 2020, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi tweeted this out on the same day, quote, "The Trump administration's expansion of its un-American travel ban is a threat to our security, our values, and the rule of law, barring more than 350 million people from predominantly African countries from traveling to the US. The rule is discrimination disguised as policy," end quote. Presidential candidate Joe Biden tweeted this out the following day, quote, "We are in the midst of a crisis with the coronavirus. We need to lead the way with science, not Donald Trump's record of hysteria, xenophobia, and fear-mongering. He is the worst possible president to lead our country toward a global health emergency." In hindsight, their comments are rather egregious, equivalent to saying we should let the coronavirus breed, let them eat cake. During President Trump's State of the Union speech on February 6, Nancy Pelosi stood behind him and tore up his speech while on camera. This move was quickly lambasted by those in the media who support him and appreciated by those who do not. This was a visible, very visible display of the hostility between Democrats and Republicans in the White House. Over the next few weeks, Republicans asked Democrats to pull the No Ban Act bill, which would have rescinded President Trump's travel ban. The No Ban Act aims to rein in Trump's ability to, quote, "suspend or restrict aliens from entering the United States and limit the administration from putting in place similar bans in the future." It also includes language that would prevent religious discrimination in various immigration-related decisions, such as whether to issue an immigrant or non-immigrant visa, with certain exceptions. On February 28th, President Trump tweeted this, quote, "The do-nothing Democrats were busy wasting time on the immigration hoax and anything else they could do to make the Republican Party look bad, while I was busy calling early border and flight closings, putting us way ahead in our battle with coronavirus. Dems called it very wrong," end quote. On March 11th and 14th, President Trump stopped flights from 28 European countries, which roiled markets and added to severe economic disruptions. The coronavirus was labeled a pandemic. On March 12th, the No Ban Act bill was finally pulled. Quote, "Democrats could not have picked a worse week to try to undermine American travel restrictions," Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said on the White House floor Wednesday. President Trump's quick decision to restrict travel to countries like Iran and China was a smart response, and it is helping keep America safe, end quote. On March 26th, Speaker Nancy Pelosi lamented President Trump's, quote, "slow response" in a tweet. Quote, "Trump's chaotic response coupled with misinformation and obstruction fails to address Americans' real concerns. He continues to be out of touch with the people." Probably the best thing President Trump did was to issue a travel ban from China and Iran in late January when the coronavirus was primarily in those countries. The move likely prevented millions from catching the disease and thousands from dying. Yet rather than thanking him, his political opposition has demonized him. Here's a president who endures daily beatings only to be ridiculed for making a decision that saved many. And I'm stating this as a registered Democrat, surprise all of you. Actually, now I'm in the middle. I'm a moderate. I'm no longer a Democrat. I actually kicked them to the curb because I don't like this kind of behavior. They're rewriting history and they're lying. The coronavirus pandemic has crippled the world economy and stoked fears about our health and economic security. If the Democrats and Republicans keep engaging in bipartisanship, the US will go the way of the Roman Empire. Are the evangelical Christians to blame? What? President Trump coined the term fake news, referring to storylines from the New York Times, the Washington Post, or CNN. For the past couple of years, I've been skeptical of his assertions, but when I noticed an op-ed piece on March 27th of 2020 by Catherine Stewart in the New York Times entitled, "The Road to Coronavirus Hell Was Paved by Evangelicals," I now see his point. Rather than properly sourcing the coronavirus in the Wuhan city of China, Stewart squarely laid the blame for this pandemic on evangelical Christians of all people. Why? She asserted that Trump's, quote, "response to the pandemic has been haunted by the science denialism of his ultra-conservative religious allies." What planet is she on? She then cited two religious leaders who refused to shutter their doors, claiming God would protect them, and asserted that President Trump is perfectly in tune with the religious nationalists who form the core of his base. No, he's not. Trump told people to stay home. This is a blatant lie from this woman, and I can't believe the New York Times had the gall to publish it. If that is not evidence of fake news, the end of her diatribe is, demonstrating the most telling indicator of her hatred for Christians, Christianity, and Christian holidays. She may not realize Trump speaks within a country of mostly Christian people who are well aware of the timing of the Easter holiday. Quote, here's what she says: "Yet none of the benign uses of religion in this time of crisis have anything to do with Mr. Trump's expressed hope the country would be, quote, opened up and just raring to go by Easter." He could, of course, have said by mid-April, but Mr. Trump did not invoke Easter by accident, and many of his evangelical allies were pleased by his vision of packed churches all over the country. Seriously? President Trump expressed a hope and a vision of an ideal. Her straw man is obnoxious, which of course the ideal would be achieved if the coronavirus is halted. That's probably not going to happen. Trump made that clear. But rather than consider his words and what he intended, Stewart erected a straw man to demonize him and evangelical Christians. One must wonder what drives people like her to such hostility. It's almost demonic. Returning to my original distinctions, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Republicans and Democrats on values. Because Republicans and Democrats actually have appreciable differences in values. You might not have realized this. It's actually quite an interesting thing from Jonathan Haidt. So Jonathan Haidt is out of the Stern School of Business. After studying research in a variety of academic disciplines, Jonathan Haidt developed what he terms moral foundations theory. According to this theory, humans value the following 6 foundations in varying ways: care, fairness, liberty, oppression, loyalty, authority, and sanctity. He's missing truth, which maybe he'll add at some point. Interestingly, Haidt discovered that political affiliations explain some of the variation in value scores. Democrats or liberals tend to value care and fairness the most, while Republicans or conservatives tend to value the dimensions more evenly. Libertarians value liberty higher than the other 5 values. Politicians would be wise to pay attention to this research. Consider why President Trump's base got excited when he staged a very expensive salute to America on the White House lawn on July 4th, 2019, which is the United States Independence Day, with a speech, firecrackers, and military tanks. His crowd appeared outfitted in red, white, and blue, which nicely blended with the sea of American flags that event facilitators had positioned all around the event. Republicans are more nationalistic, patriotic, loyal, and conservative than their Democratic counterparts. So it was unsurprising when his political opponents accused him of wasting $2.5 million of taxpayers' money to promote his political campaign. They preferred the money go to the National Park Service or to other social services. But the man who intends to make America great again did what any successful US president does. He pandered to his base, which happens to be very patriotic. Republicans and Democrats vary in predictable ways. Republicans who toe the party line tend to favor the military, big businesses, capitalism, tax reductions, fewer gun restrictions, and anti-abortion legislation. Some Christian Republicans are single-issue voters, choosing to side with whomever is against abortions. According to Haidt, Republicans value the purity and sanctity of life more than Democrats, which includes the life of the unborn. Democrats who toe the party line tend to favor welfare programs, education, socialism, universal health care, the environment, LGBTQ groups, and unions. Some Democrats are also single-issue voters, choosing to side with whomever supports LGBTQ rights, or people who are single-issue voters might just side with people who favor the environment, the climate change people. I've also noted that some Democrats are pro-choice and against the death penalty. This is an interesting paradox, given they sometimes militantly support the right to terminate a pregnancy due to inconvenience, while concurrently advocating for saving the lives of murderers on death row. This position is curious, given the unborn is innocent, while the death row inmate has been found guilty. I take the opposite position, as I have the desire to support the innocent unborn and to see justice for the murderer who took others' lives. If a Democrat wants to appeal to her base, she should appeal to the values of caring for the poor, needy, and downtrodden, and ensuring fairness in the distributions of incomes and programs. Those on the far left, the communists, tend to favor redistribution of income and the equality of outcomes. As Karl Marx once said, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Time and again, we have witnessed the failures of Marxism, from the fall of communism in the USSR in 1989 to modern-day Venezuela, where millions are currently starving. Communism conflicts with our basic human motivations and instincts. When we work hard, we expect to be compensated well. If we do not work when we are well, capable of doing so, and we do not deserve to be compensated. St. Paul admonished the lazy within the early Christian church, as did Solomon in the book of Proverbs and Jesus in the parable of the talents. To my parents, laziness is the most detrimental of all sins. To God, pride is the root of all evil. The combination of pride and cognitive indolence could possibly be the worst human characteristic one could possess. The person who loses his job, who can't find a decent job, and who refuses to take The only available job he can get, which is an entry-level position, demonstrates those qualities. My deceased uncle was a medical doctor who lost his job due to malpractice. He swallowed any pride he had and worked as a pizza delivery person to make ends meet after that. And I respect him all the more for doing so. He had a very good work ethic. Republicans who do not advocate for equality of outcomes, because leveling the playing field when people contribute to the playing field in unequal ways is unfair. Why should the bench warmer earn the same pay as a star quarterback on a football team? Well, he shouldn't. Talent, hard work, and dedication matter. Republicans prefer equality of opportunities. Those on the far right, the fascists, tend to favor segregation, authoritarianism, and racism. White supremacists occupy this camp, as do any race-focused elitists who believe one race is superior to another. Both far leftists and those on the far right are deeply mistaken, to say the least. Both positions are socially irresponsible and truly egregious. Both are based on the collective over the individual, and both are based on concentrated governmental power over the power of individuals, business owners, and entrepreneurs. The problem with concentrated governmental power is the government has fewer reasons to be efficient with money than do individuals and business owners. Some governments simply print money when they are short of it, fueling hyperinflation and economic stagnation. Businesses don't have that option. Unsuccessful and inefficient businesses must close their doors. This is one reason in support of capitalism. In recent times, many Democrats have been employing identity politics by calling attention to the protected class or social class within which people are grouped to claim victimhood. When claiming victimhood simply is based on one's race, gender, or sexuality earns more social credibility points than being recognized as a hero, our system and state are seriously flawed. We need more heroes, even if they are in the only group who never gets to claim they are victims, the white heterosexual males. As for my political position, I see benefits and drawbacks to the views on both sides. I hate politics in the United States, but at times the systems and tactics the party use against one another are comical. At other times they're depressing. We're currently operating within a very depressing comedy, if you can call it a comedy. It's actually a very sad state of affairs. So I'm now going to return back to where I began and to make a mention of something that I wanted to make. So I'm reminded of two of the traits of the big five-factor model of personality when I also consider the distinctions in the Republicans and Democrats: conscientiousness and openness to experience. Numerous studies have indicated Republicans have higher levels of conscientiousness and lower levels of openness to experience. Conscientiousness relates to favoring order, achievement, competence, self-discipline, and being deliberate. Democrats have higher levels of openness to experience, which relates to intellectual curiosity, an active imagination, aesthetic sensitivity, a preference for variety, and an attentiveness to inner feelings. The clash between those who embrace change and those who favor the status quo, along with those who prefer order over chaos, is evidenced in our political system. I really appreciate that you came by. I don't know if you agree with my opinions. Sometimes they're kind of strong, but makes it more fun, doesn't it? Just remember, Christianity is true. It's the way, the truth, and the life. I hope you come back sometime. Hope you like and subscribe and do make that choice. And I will talk to you soon.